like not adapt, but they gravitate to a particular area of our culture, and they're like, okay, well, look, let me monetize this, because the thing is, a lot of black people, we just having fun in our culture. It's
right,
just fun.
We don't even realize how to monetize our stuff, because typically what happens is you create this art and then you hand it over to somebody else to help make money. Exactly. You know, and that's been the problem. So when you don't understand that part, you always end up getting screwed.
Welcome to the TMF podcast, where we have too many feelings. I'm your host, T. Staples, and I'm joined by
Miss Monroe
and your main man.
It's your main man, Freddie B. You already know what it is.
Today, we're going to talk about something that's on all our hearts. No matter what background you're from ethnically, we hope you feel us, because we have too many feelings about this subject. But first, it's time for a segment I like to call the Internet Never Lost. That's right. This is my attempt to navigate through the endless insanity of the interconnectivity that brings us together and gives us shareable moments, like when our favorite celebrities go viral for unintended reasons. But today, I'm going to present a few clips from a couple of the not-so-favorited celebrities, more along the lines of the ones with cult followings and sometimes have rash or harsh rhetoric. With that in mind, here's the scenario. DJ Vlad. He's a Russian and Jewish YouTuber. He has a show that many of our black celebrities frequent, and often they lay down their full and current past life stories. But why? Why do they do this? Is it for promotion, or does it help them in any significant way? Two celebrities that you may or may not like or know of had something to say about it. One such celebrity, Dame Dash, went on to say this.
Dudes like Vlad TV and Adam 22, they want to say that I'm disrespectful or humble me because I question why they're even speaking on my culture. I'm difficult. I'm on a blacklist for even speaking. A big bum ass blackball list. Yeah, I'm not never on. That's the type of shit I don't like, man. This narrative they try to create. Oh, a motherfucker's disruptive and disrespectful if he is aware of his self-worth and demands respect for his culture. That's crazy. That's crazy. And that's what it's been with me the whole time. Oh, he's a black man that speaks up for himself? He's crazy. There's a black man that don't let white people rob him or talk to him any old kind of way? I'm nuts? Come on, man, y'all nuts. Pause. Man, we gotta start speaking. We got to start doing things that are intelligent. That's how we win. Stop looking the other way just for a buck. You know, everybody turns the blind eye because they say they got to eat. That food is not good. That's not good food. That's the food that kills you quick. But how we know the tricks and we still do it?
I don't know, Dame. Well, let's hear what Corey Holcomb had to say why you smoked that blunt.
Vlad tried to get me to go on his show. I didn't know who the fuck he was. So when my people was like, yo, they want you to come do this show, woo, woo, woo. I mean, I'm just not like the regular nigga. I was like, well, who the fuck show is it? And they like, oh, it's this dude. I'm like, is it major industry production? They like, no, it's in a fucking little ass spot in Van Nuys. I'm like, so his shit like mine, right? So I said, I got in touch with Vlad. And I'm like, well, shit, come do my show, I'll do yours. He ain't want to do my show. So you know what the fuck that mean. I ain't finna do yours. If you go on Vlad's show, you need to get a percentage of that motherfucking video you doing. You can't, all you got is your likelihood right now. Hollywood is shut the fuck down. You go on this motherfucker show, you tell this motherfucker we gonna do the paperwork where I get a percentage of what is made off this video, or you gonna pay me to go on your show. He done made enough free money off niggas. Why is everybody going on this show?
I don't know, you keep calling him motherfucker, he may not give you no money. But what else you got to say, Corey?
We mentally fucked because we all made this motherfucker. He wasn't even, he ain't got no major, look, if you go on the Tonight Show, if you go on some shit that's major media for free, we know why you did it. Y'all made Vlad major media by going on his show for nothing. And he getting the money from all the videos. What are you getting? If you go on Vlad's show for free, you ain't doing nothing but making this motherfucker rich. And if you ain't coming on other people's shows, doing they shit for free, or you acting funny with niggas with shows, you fucking up. That shit Dad said is for real. Motherfucker, tax this motherfucker. We can't just be going on Vlad for free, man. The fuck?
Is Vlad TV helping our black celebrities come up, or is he simply a cultural vulture? Send us a message. Our handles are in the description, and let us know how you feel. This has been yours truly, T Staples, in this week's edition of The Internet Never Lost. Catch you next time. And now, into our topic of the hour. What is it that we need to do in America today to help the black economic condition? And how did we get here? So I'm going to start off right now by talking about a situation where we have two gentlemen, Joe Budden, Charlemagne the God, who have recently come into some dealings with each other in the media. And they're talking about economics and deals that they're making with their various contracts or should I say entities, in which they have gone about figuring out how to make money differently. And they're fighting. There's some infighting about if what one is doing is better than the other and where we are today. But in order to really get us into this topic, I want to shoot over to Freddie B, because we need some background on what's going on with the black economic situation in America today. So Freddie B, help us out. Bring us up to speed.
In a nutshell, is Charlemagne, he does a podcast, Joe Budden does a podcast, and Charlemagne works for iHeartRadio doing his radio show. He just did a partnership with iHeart, The Black Effect. That'll be done. I think it's done under iHeart, right? Isn't that done under iHeart?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's done under iHeart. And Joe Budden just finished up his deal with Spotify. And basically they had a situation where they don't see eye to eye as far as ownership. Like Joe's really pushing ownership. He initially did the deal with Spotify to, as he said, glean information, understand the numbers, how the numbers work, so on and so forth. And then what he was saying to Charlemagne is that basically like the Black Effect that he's doing under iHeart, that I'm assuming he's saying that he could have done it just on his own, just had his own network called the Black Effect, and just got everybody and just did it all on his own. I mean, but basically, black people doing their own thing and owning their own stuff and keeping it in the culture.
That's interesting. Miss Monroe, can you give me any other insight? What's going on with these two guys?
I kind of see it as our generation's Martin versus Malcolm argument about how to go about it. So to me, Charlemagne seems to be more on Martin Luther King's side, where he prefers to kind of build partnerships and kind of go walk within the parameters that white people kind of already set. It's the same way that Martin Luther King used to do it, because, he had kind of formed a relationship with President Johnson, right?
Yeah,
Lyndon Johnson, yeah, who signed the 1964 Civil Rights Act.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like that thing when, Malcolm X was, in a different way. He's like, nah, y'all not going to be beating on us in order to make progress. We feel like we can make progress without having to make y'all comfortable at the same time. Just to appeal to white people's emotions to get them to want to vote for us to have rights. And Malcolm X was like, nah, I'm not about that. And I see kind of, to me, Joe Budden is on the Malcolm X side. Like, I'm not tap dancing for these white people to make them comfortable. You gonna pay me what I'm worth, and you gonna respect me and what I've done. And I see his argument, because with Spotify, he basically did help break Spotify.
That's interesting. So before Joe Budden, Spotify was in need of that lead person to kind of get them out of the rut of ambiguity of just any old other app.
Yes. So Spotify comes and they're trying to be the next music, distribution platform, but they weren't making any money because the labels are basically, labels are hogging it all over from every aspect. And so they decided to shift to podcasts because they can see more money from that. Because if I can make money from a 3-minute song, how much money can I make from a 3-hour podcast? In Joe's on Joe's show, he talks about how they, reached out to him, and one of the biggest person who was supposed to be helping to really break Spotify was supposed to be Amy Schumer. Well, apparently her podcast didn't do very well, and so Joe's ended up being the biggest one. And so from Joe's perspective, what he's saying is, y'all wouldn't have been able to go out here and get all these other bigger basically groups of podcasts, because they bought out Gimlet, which was like, it was like a podcast network. They wouldn't have been able to do that without Joe being there first.
So I guess the question then is, what is Charlemagne's argument really to the whole scenario? Because if Joe is saying, listen, I was the leader, I was a pioneer in the landscape of bringing Spotify to the forefront, economically, it seems that he should benefit from that. And if he's not going to benefit from that, he should emancipate himself away from that situation.
To me, the whole Charlemagne Joe Budden thing, to give my honest opinion, I'm more on business wise. I'm more on the Malcolm X side, Joe Budden side, where I think that we should stop taking these crumbs from people all the time. The thing that got me was Charlemagne got the whole thing started.
Like, what'd he do?
He unnecessarily kind of attacked. He kind of basically Terry Crews'd him. So when
Wait a minute, like Terry Crews and Tyra Banks.
Terry Crews and Gabrielle Union.
Gabrielle Union. Oh yeah. With the hair.
Kind of threw him under the bus unnecessarily. Dang. So Joe Budden goes on his show, on his podcast, and announces to his audience that, you know, they will not be continuing on with Spotify. And he, you know, basically gives an overview of, you know, why he went to Spotify, which is mostly for data. He said it wasn't really about money. He was really trying to understand and learn because he comes from the music world. So he streaming and all that is still so very, very new. And there's still so many areas that they're building up. And one thing that's definitely not set in stone like the music world is, as far as copyrights go and licensing goes, is the podcast has not reached that point yet. There's still, you know, plenty of area to blaze new trails. So for him, he was like, okay, cool. They've agreed to give me this data that I asked for, because he also talks about how he went to Tidal and asked Jay-Z, and Jay-Z was like, nah, I ain't gonna give you that. And Spotify said they would, but they didn't. So he's explaining that on the show and all the stuff that they've been through while they're there. When Angela Yee does the rumor report, Charlemagne, in my opinion, kind of throws him under the bus, because he was like, well, it sound like you don't know what you're doing, and kind of like, you know, dissing him a little bit, when it was like, you know, you didn't really have to come at him that way. Especially because I'm quite sure, because, you know, Charlemagne, not too long after that, announces his deal with iHeart, and, you know, him having the Black Effect podcast network.
Which is not something he owns, but it's in conjunction with, right?
Well, he owns 50% of it, is what he said.
Okay.
He owns 50% of it. But my thing is, if you just did this deal, and he didn't announce the deal yet, so the deal was still, you know, underway, I feel like, I'm pretty sure y'all niggas, you know, these niggas got each other's phone number. Like, you could have called him instead of being like on your show, like, yeah, you don't know what the fuck you doing, nigga. Like, that's kind of what got the whole thing started.
Right. And what's crazy is these are two black men. These are black, and this is infighting. And we're in a time where we all need to come up on money. Like we all need to, not just the money for the sake of the dollars or the cash, but the opportunities, as well as the financial literacy to know what to do with the money once we get it, to invest it back into things and or to do bigger things. And I think this conversation that's looming around the two gentlemen is really confusing a lot of people, because people want to know, I mean, should I be employed, or should I try to own something?
Right.
And Charlemagne is kind of almost on the employed side, because he's relying upon the dollars from iHeart to support and back what he's doing. And where Joe Budden is like, I'm on the ownership side. Like, this is my entity, and I want to dictate what it is we do and what's put on it advertising wise, because of the numbers that we are pulling in. We have the ability to do so. And I have the control over this, so that I don't have to creatively subjugate myself to whatever it is iHeart, or Spotify in this case, wants me to do. So question I have for you both then, which is better for Black American economics, ownership or employment?
I would say obviously ownership is always going to be better. Obviously everybody can't be owners, because then you don't have employees, but I think the main thing is feeding into our culture, feeding into the ecosystem, you know, just like Jewish people do, just like, you know, any other ethnic group does, you know, black people can do the same thing, and then that'll build us up even more. I think the main thing is, you know, it's being able to own your creative ideas and trust in the process, as they say. I think between the two, Budden and Charlemagne, see the thing with Charlemagne is, if you remember, Charlemagne was, if people know, Charlemagne was on the radio in South Carolina. Then he got with Wendy Williams. Then he was on the radio in Philly. He was on the radio in Philly, and he was booming and bunking in Philly. And a lot of people don't know, or maybe forgot, that when Beanie Siegel was beefing with Jay-Z, Charlemagne was more of a shock jock then. He's kind of toned it down, but he had put Beanie on the radio in Philly, because Beanie Siegel's from Philly, and he played like this unauthorized diss track from Beans against Jay. Jay was having his energy and, you know, had the juice in the game. And so, you know, it's not really said, but I think Charlemagne got essentially whiteballed from radio to where he ain't had no job. He was gone, and because Jay-Z used his juice to pull the plug, and so Charlemagne
is that where they get the joke? Charlemagne got fired by Jay-Z.
Oh yeah, so yeah, that's where it comes from, because I mean literally, if you ask, Charlemagne told the story the week that he played it, that week he got the call like, hey, it's a wrap. So, and I can understand why Charlemagne talked the way he talked. It's like he done been out on his ass, so he's scared. He don't want to go back. He don't want to be broke no more. He got a wife. He got daughters. He trying to do what he can do. But the thing is that I think Joe sees more in Charlemagne than Charlemagne sees in himself. You know, but Charlemagne gonna have to risk it. He gonna have to jump out there. You know, but I think it's very plausible for Charlemagne just to start the Black Effect and hit up all the people he got. He could have did it all on his own. And then Joe fumbling not fumbling, but Joe leaving Spotify. Joe come to the Black Effect. Boom. Get with Diddy. He already got a relationship with Revolt. They both got relationships with Diddy at Revolt, and they both got situations at Revolt. They could have got and then did it all together. Diddy, Charlemagne, Joe. Boom. We got our own podcast thing. Black people, come rock with us. You gonna do a podcast? You gonna boom with us? Get all the big podcasters, Kid Fury, all the other big ones out there. Us, let's just do it big. You know what I mean?
Right. Miss Monroe, ownership or employment?
I lean more towards the side of ownership, but there are some situations where you have to do not necessarily employment all the time, but maybe partnership.
Okay, break that down.
They talked about that too on the Brilliant Idiots, where he just used different examples of, Diddy and Ciroc, Rihanna and Fenty. Those are partnerships with other companies, with them having to own all the supply for that. But, if you don't know how to negotiate well, that's the thing that they didn't say, because he was kind of say that in a sense to kind of like diss Joe and say, well, I'm in a partnership. But you can be in a partnership and not be in a good partnership. He also talked about distribution. Well, no, excuse me, not distribution, licensing. You know what I'm saying? You could be in a licensing. So I thought it was interesting that Joe had posted a picture of Prince, the picture where he has slave written on the side of his face, when he's basically talking about his master still being owned by the record label and him not being able to do certain things and him not making certain amount of money from that and profiting in the way that they are. And Charlemagne also talks about too, what did he say? Oh, he was saying that nobody's ever really gonna pay you what you're worth. And so I was like, okay, so then you do understand what Joe's saying then, because Joe feels like he's not getting what he's worth. Either you're gonna accept it or not. And like, Fred said earlier, I agree with that. I think that he does not see his worth. I think Joe sees Charlemagne's worth more than Charlemagne does. And the fact that he's just willing to accept that because it's like, well, I won't be out on my ass. But he says that he studied Robert Smith and Jay-Z. And I'm like, okay, well then I don't know about Robert Smith. I haven't studied Robert Smith very much, the billionaire. But Jay-Z, I know, talks about a lot how he took a lot of great risk. And so then employment is the only other option. When you're not willing to take risk, is that you're going to have to be employed, because that is why the owners get to take what they take, because they take the initial risk. And I agree with you. I agree actually with both of you, but and I can make an argument for both cases of ownership or employment, because there's some people in school who did really, really well in school, and they did really, really well, but school was designed to prepare you for employment. It wasn't preparing you for ownership. Right. And so a lot of people who do really, really well in school, you know what else they do well at? Working for people. Right. And they do great at that, and then people love them. So I could actually argue both sides, and I think that we need to get into a position where we have opportunities, not just the ownership or the employment, but the opportunities for both. And I think that's one of the things that is really going to help us, further our economics as Black Americans. And when it comes to these two brothers, I actually think that the fighting that they're doing, even though it may seem like infighting, I think it's a necessary evil, because if they weren't talking about it, would we be talking about it? And that's the question I always ask. And so with that being said, one of the things that I think we should also do is kind of like what the Internet Never Lost segment talked about with Dame Dash, is we got to start speaking. We got to start speaking on stuff. Yeah. And we can't be afraid to speak on stuff. And it's interesting that you brought up the Michael Jackson and Prince, because I believe somebody just described their situation very similar to that, in that whereas Prince was stuck underneath a label situation, Michael Jackson got into a position where he started owning masters, and then he bought the Beatles masters, and he understood the power of having the ownership of masters.
And I think that goes back to even what Kanye West just recently was talking about in the media, where he was talking about, not owning his masters on Twitter. Yeah, he was going on his rant. So I think that people have to realize is that there's some value in ownership, but there's value in employment and opportunities as well.
Well, yeah, and I wanted to add on to that with the employment. I think it's cool sometimes. Employment is cool sometimes, but I think that you gotta have a plan. It's all about having a bigger plan, a long play. So, for example, you just brought up Kanye, Yeezus had a plan with Nike. He had the 2 Nike shoes that came out. He was an employee. Nike paid him a flat fee to use his name, use his likeness on the shoes, all that type of stuff, and to wear nothing but Nikes. Kanye was able to leverage it. He had a nice plan to where, he built up his name to where anything he dropped, hype beast was gonna hop all over it. So he just left Nike, went to Adidas, and then now he got full creative control at Adidas, and then he got a partnership at Adidas to where that took him to $1 billion, and then that led him over to Gap, to where he got the partnership with Gap, the Gap deal now. So now he's trying to transition to actually having a board seat at the company that is, because the company of Adidas and the company of Gap, he not involved with. He just involved in his Yeezy section, but he trying to transition to over the whole company. If he gets a board seat at that company, then he becomes an integral part of the whole company outside of just the Yeezy section.
Yes.
So keep trying to expand out. But like I said, Kanye has a whole bigger plan of what he's trying to do, and Kanye understands the power he has, so he gonna swing his elbows. And that's essentially what Joe is doing. Joe's swinging his elbows. He's speaking he wasn't even done with his Spotify terms yet. He said 6 more shows.
Yeah, 7 episodes left.
Yeah, 7 episodes.
7 episodes left before.
What the episode I saw, he had 6 episodes left. He was we got 6 more episodes. He was follow us, not here. He's saying it on the show that's gonna be on Spotify. Don't follow us here. Don't follow us on Spotify. Follow us on YouTube. Yeah. So he throwing that's essentially what Kanye doing. Same deal, throwing his balls, because when you know your worth, you really know my people gonna follow me. I got a crowd. I'm gonna go over here. F y'all. Middle fingers. Kick rocks barefoot.
Yeah, true that. And so that was leading, the Kanye West, the reason I brought him up was to push us right into the next topic, because Kanye West deals with this so much. And one of the things that Charlemagne the God, what he did was he made a deal with a major stakeholder in iHeart. And so the question I was going to ask both of you to really divulge your thoughts and feelings on is, who do you believe are the major stakeholders in black economic prosperity? Because there's stakeholders in every move economically that we make. Joe Budden is his own stakeholder because he holds the keys.
Right.
But in Charlemagne's, in Charlemagne's world, or in Charlemagne's position, the stakeholder is iHeart. They are the ones that are funding and fronting the money for him to do the deal he needs to do in order to get the network going. And I think that, in my personal opinion, the stakeholders are ourselves. It's us. But I just don't think that we in mass have realized it.
Yeah, I think that it's like I said, a similar situation with Charlemagne. He just does not, to me, fully recognize his value. I think he recognizes he has some value, but not to the same extent, to where to him it's just unfathomable to, try to go out on his own and do that type of thing. And I think that even with the employment question you all asked earlier, it's a value question. Do we see value within ourselves? Do we value ourselves enough to sometimes, not take that check, like Dash said, earlier, and the internet never lost. Some of that food, some of that money ain't good money.
That's right. Some of that food ain't good food. And I think that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to bring that to the table too, was because Dame Dash, although people thought he was crazy, they say he's been saying this for years.
He really has.
He went on the Breakfast Club, and there's an interview, you can go back and look at it. There's an interview he did on the Breakfast Club where he said y'all could leave this place now and do this on your own. Mm-hmm. DJ Envy, Angela Yee, Charlemagne the God, not one of them thought to themselves, he's right. Let's leave 101. Yeah, let's move. And because they took the Breakfast Club, went and spent their own money, bought the cameras, set up the situation, and did it as a podcast and use YouTube as the rails if they wanted to until they could build their own website. You don't think people would follow them? They are powerful.
Yeah, because they got the same juice. So everybody they can get on their own. And I mean, but I think because the thing I love doing is reading the comments in all these videos, like Joe's video. You read the comments, people talk about that, and people talk about like Envy. Envy got 4 kids. I mean, if you look at the Breakfast Club, the only person that's even remotely cut from that cloth that even remotely might even touch what Dame said is Charlemagne, and maybe as we see he doing what he doing, but Envy and Yee. Hell no, they not doing. Envy and Yee like, okay, we about to stay employed. We about to say whatever. We don't care. Like, we just trying to make this money. We just trying to live comfortably. We don't care nothing about the bigger picture per se. We're not really trying to like really set some black folks free. We ain't on that.
But who's gonna be Harriet Tubman though? Like somebody got to be
them niggas.
Somebody, and that's the thing. Somebody has to be it, because if you think about it, let's just think about it from an economic standpoint. What we're doing right now, we all purchased our gear. We have our podcast. I'm literally paying for the subscription services that we're using to make this podcast go. We're putting our own money up, and we're not even famous. We're not even like the hugely widely known people at this point in time. We're gonna get there, and that's me projecting out. We gonna get there. We gonna be that. But right now we're not. And it's fair to say that I'm putting my own money up. But can you imagine a world where a Big Boy Radio, a Breakfast Club, I don't know who else is. Give me some. Not Steve. Is Steve Harvey still on? Steve Harvey. If you had 5 of the major top black radio hosts get together and say, we're going to start our own radio network, that's power.
Which is so crazy. Power. Which is crazy now that I think about it, because people been on this whole kick ever since Colin Kaepernick started, boycotting. People are like, oh, we're going to start our own NBA. We're going to start our own NFL, which that type of thing, you kind of almost have to do the employment, because it's so big and it's so hard to get into that game, given where we are, as a people. But it's something as simple as a podcast.
Like radio? Right.
How, inexpensive that is to do that stuff now, especially because we have the internet. It's way more doable and way more fathomable than, something is like the NBA or the NFL. Like, that's huge. That's billions of dollars.
And that's the thing. It's so crazy. And to me, it just seems like the obvious answer is that we are our own stakeholders, but maybe there's some stakeholders we just haven't identified who haven't helped us out yet. And it seems to me that we're looking for some random pie in the sky person when we have somebody like a Steve Harvey with money. We got somebody like Charlemagne, the guy who got money. We got somebody like a Joe Budden who has money. And one of the most interesting things about our black economics today is that we actually have the ability to reposition ourselves. The question is, will we make the move to actually reposition ourselves? And it's something I haven't really said on this show, but as we get ready to start really promoting the TMF podcast, Too Many Feelings, one of the feelings that we have to remember we had to address is that we're not in the same room together. It's COVID-19. Miss Monroe is in Atlanta. Freddie B is in Harlem. T Staples is all the way in Brooklyn. And we record this show
in the hood of Brooklyn too.
I'm in the butt crack of Brooklyn where the shit come out. Okay,
these are facts.
And I'm telling you, we're located remotely doing the show together, and we're pushing this show out. So you can't tell me that you guys can't get it together. You don't even have to sit in the same room to do your show these days.
Right.
But I wanted to talk about the NBA thing. Actually, the NBA, especially this year, could have got the wheels rolling with starting their own deal. They could have done it, especially with this COVID. This COVID interrupted the season. They could have did their own thing. And actually, I sat and thought about it. The way the NBA could have, all these boys could have broke off and started their own league. Once everything stopped, they could have been like, okay, we not playing no more. And they could have used whatever COVID. We scared of COVID. We're not gonna do it no more. The top players, all the top players, could have just started a league. LeBron, AD, Giannis, Durant, Kyrie, all the superstars of the league, because they all black. They could decide, okay, we gonna start a league. Got together, we gonna start a league. This is what we gonna do. We gonna all have equity stake in the league. So LeBron, you gonna be the owner of a team. Durant, you gonna be the owner of a team. All the top players, we gonna be owners of the team. You take the number of players and you divvy it up like that. Like, okay, boom. Based off maybe the MVP voting from the NBA. Okay, this is the MVP voting, so this is how we do it based off who owns what team. You had those teams. You had the top players initially just come, while all the lower mid-grade players, they stay in the NBA, keep getting their money. Now, all the players that are in the NBA, you're going to have new superstars because the old superstars started the league. So the NBA have to prop up new superstars. So once those new superstars are propped up by the NBA, then they make the transition to this new league. Once the juice is gone out of the NBA, then, okay, the players that come out of college, you just come straight into the new league. Boom.
Right.
The juice is gone. NBA
The new
is no
Ballers
more.
League. The new Ballers League. The NBL. The new Ballers League.
Right. Black Basketball Association, BBA, something. I don't know.
Negro Basketball League.
And then you have LeVar as the commissioner. And then boom, never lost. And then we killing the game.
And the ball never lost. So would you say the stakeholders for to be in that situation are the players themselves?
Yeah, but like the thing is like, you know, Miss Monroe, she alluded to it, is when you own these people that own stuff, they taking the risk, and there's risk involved. There's uncertainty. You got to step out there. You can't be scared. A lot of people, they scared to step out there because it's like, oh, I've been broke all my life, and then okay, now this person dropping $1 million in front of me. I'm about to have $1 million. Like I'm about to finally like do all the stuff I wanted to do. But if you making $1 million, just like Joe said, you making $1 million, them boys making $1 billion probly off you. You
get $1 million. You get $1 million. I get $1 million.
Right, it's like on some Oprah stuff, but it's
Right.
like in the music business, people have all these terrible deals. You hear about it all the time. People deal is slow. Like, what kind of deal is that? Like a 360 deal? How? Like, we've been hearing about this since the 90s. Niggas still out here signing bad deals. Like Meg Thee Stallion was the most recent one we heard about. Why? Because these people broke and people come like, okay, we're gonna throw all this money at you. You're gonna be a rap star. Here's a chain. Here's a watch. That's the same thing they try to do to Joe. Try to give him Rolex for his new deal. I don't know damn Rolex.
Right.
Ugly ass little boy. Like, give me that ownership. I will get my own Rolex. I buy my own chain. Let me get that ownership so I can flip it so I can be big time for my life. But these companies, they'll give you just a little bit so you can be big time for the next 5 years. But a lot of people, when you broke, you so short sighted, you can't see past the fog in front of your face. They put a little smoke fog in front of your face. You can't see through it.
It's like the horse. It's horse with the blinders on. It's like I can't see left or right. I can only see forward. And the money's
You can't
looking.
even see forward. You can't even see forward. You can see an inch in front of you.
It's like
And
Ed with the glasses on, like just straight black, like Stevie Wonder glasses.
Nah. It's like Looney Tunes. You know when the coyote chasing the road runner and the road runner blow the smoke up, he run into the smoke and his head in the smoke and he can't see where he running. He run right off the cliff. But when the smoke dissipates and he look, he like, oh snap! I'm in the ravine. He fall and splat. That's what all these little broke rappers doing. All these little broke people. You know, that's all. And then they just find the next one.
Yeah. And then they just take advantage of them. You know.
It's a rape party. That's all. That's all you see is just economic rape party.
Like Puff Daddy in the 90s.
Right.
Was he? I don't know. I love Puff.
I love Puff too. I love Puff.
He be
Puff,
having
Puff, my
some
guy.
bad deals. Like,
I know y'all seen no videos about Puff is toxic. I know you've seen the videos. I know you've seen them, Freddie B. Don't act like you ain't seen them.
I believe I might have heard of it. Yeah, I believe I might have heard of it.
Pandering to the Puff. Puff, come holler at Freddie B. he rubbing you the right way. That's all I'm saying. The internet never lost.
he ain't rubbing me no way. Yeah, that's the last thing he'll do. That's the last thing you'll hear about Freddie B doing for some money.
Oh yeah. You know, you don't do nothing funny for the money. You know, I mean, but it almost makes me look at people like strippers and prostitutes. Like at least they got control over their stuff. Hopefully, unless they got a pimp or something. Who knows?
Right.
I mean, even they don't. The strip clubs, they got to pay rent. They got to kick that money back to the owner. So it's, that's rare.
But are the strip clubs black owned?
A lot of times they be Jewish owned or
come on, Fred,
or Persian owned. Now I'm just saying, like all the ones I know, like a lot of ones I know, I'd be surprised. Like a lot of these big ones that you find out about, they be like, it'd be a Jewish dude on it or a Middle Eastern. It'd be somebody you will never expect.
So we don't even have control of our economics in the strip club.
Man, all these other cultures, they see like, okay, black culture run the world. They like adapt, not adapt, but they gravitate to a particular area of our culture, and they're like, okay, well, look, let me monetize this, because the thing is, a lot of black people, we just having fun in our culture. It's
right,
just
we
fun.
don't even realize how to monetize our stuff, because typically what happens is you create this art and then you hand it over to somebody else to help make money.
Exactly.
You know, and that's been the problem. So when you don't understand that part, you always end up getting screwed. And so I've had to learn that myself. You know, I'm creating content. Okay, then this content needs to have a purpose, and it needs to basically be promoting something that I'm going to either sell or a service. A great example of this, and I don't know if it's still up on Netflix. Netflix had a show called The Toys That Made Us. Almost every toy that you ever heard of that came out of the 80s and the 90s, there was a show that was attached to it. Like you had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you had Transformers, you had He-Man. Most of those cases, except for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, all of those shows that were surrounded by those toys, really the toy came first, but they created the show to promote the toys.
To support the sales, right.
To support the sales, right. To basically, you know, promote it. So as somebody who's creative, when I saw that, and I was like, oh man, I'm doing this all the way backwards. I'm creating based off the fact that, this was just in my heart, which is not to say that you shouldn't, but you need to also think then too, okay, if I'm creating this thing, okay, what is it going to sell or promote? So that way I can benefit from that and I can live off my art.
Right. That makes sense.
Well, I guess real quick to speak to what you just said. When I was on a reality show, I called my homegirl Crystal. She was serious on Flavor of Love and Flavor of Love Charm School, and that's one thing she told me. She was like, when you go and do the show, and but you know, once you're done with the show, and once the show start airing, once it's airing, you need to have the next thing ready to like be you on the next thing. You're not because like what she was saying was what she learned was people will be on these reality shows, and when the reality show is airing, they be loving the life of being on a reality show. People know them and doing these parties and doing all that, and they caught up in the moment. And then the show ends and it's off the air. Then it's like, okay, what's next? And you hadn't planned for it, and now you like, okay. So she's like, why you got the eyes on you? All the eyes on you. You need to have something else other than the reality show. Like, what else happening? So when they come to see you, they see your shoes, your clothes, your hair, your this, your that. They see all this other stuff.
Make sure you take advantage of all opportunities. And any opportunities that we get to increase our black economic situation in America, we need to take advantage of it. Whether it's ownership or employment, let's have a plan to take this thing to the next level. As y'all can see, man, we got so many feelings about this. Look, do us a favor. Send us a message. Our handles are in the descriptions. Let us know how you feel about black economics in America today. I'm your host, T. Staples, here with
Miss Monroe
and your main mans.
It's your boy Freddie B, man. Holla at me on the IG.
Yeah, and this has truly been a pleasure to have you guys listen to us right now on the TML podcast, for we have too many feelings. Peace.